In recent years, I've been very into theme park YouTube videos. Defunctland, Yesterworld, and Expedition Theme Park are all up there in the list. I'm thinking about dark rides every time they upload. And I actually have hazy memories of a dark ride that I once went to as a child. It's always been here, sort of in the back of my mind, a single birthday party visit to celebrate a classmate of mine that I no longer remember, but I do remember that this ride used to nestle within the Trafford Centre, a themed shopping centre here in Manchester with this sort of ancient Greco-Roman style architecture and fun international theming inside. It's kind of like a real time capsule of a place because though businesses have come and gone, architecturally, not much of it has changed since its opening in 1998. Now, I've been there many times over the years, and while I do presently recall that birthday party that I was invited to in primary school, the memory had pretty much stayed buried for many years until I happened to be over at a friend's house recently and I noticed a faded, sun-bleached photo op printed out and pinned on the wall. There was my friend as a tiny version of himself, little baby, sitting in a dark ride carriage, shooting at his surroundings with a little toy ray gun. And I was like, wait, oh my god, I went to this ride too. And the most exciting thing about discovering this ancient photograph is realizing that I could now put a name to the attraction, and the name was The Adventures of Dreamieland. So began an immediate search for more information. On that day, I asked my friends present if they remembered it at all, but most memories that anybody in my life had were about as hazy as mine, so I took to Google. What I turned up were some articles from the Manchester Evening News, most of them looking back on the attraction sort of post-closure, but these did come with a few images that built upon my friend's photo op, and seeing these images immediately sparked more memories. Always exciting seeing something that brings back that big punch of nostalgia. There was nothing like seeing a photo of the entrance again. Here it is. Maybe if you lived nearby during that time or you visited, this rings a bell for you. It's very Spy Kids looking, I would say. Very much the aesthetic of the time, if you know what I'm talking about. Children's media looked very like this, and I think it fits in well. I also found a photo on another Manchester Evening News article that looks very much like a postcard, with a bit of a clearer idea of the experience. The arches, the exterior, a tied-up little Dreamy character, the ride car, and a birthday dog who was my most vivid memory of my Dreamieland experience the first time around. This birthday dog was like the thing that stuck with me the most. This was all really exciting, but I rather imagined that there was more that I just wouldn't be able to find. I turned up a little bit of concept art on the Flickr page of a Simon Clegg, and the Wayback Machine, it gave me a nice look at the website back when it was still working, but I had questions, and I just really wanted to know just what the ride was actually like. My own childhood memories didn't have enough detail, but I was starting to get a little bit obsessed with the idea that I had actually been to one of the few dark ride attractions that's been in the UK, as well as one of the earliest and most unique considering the location. I just needed to know. I needed to know. Hints at a narrative had been given to me, clues left behind in these MEN articles, but I wasn't really sure what to do besides take a chance on sending an email to the address listed on the old website and just see if anything came of it. I wasn't expecting very much, and I certainly wasn't expecting to get a reply from the mind behind the ride herself, Miranda Rijks. Heart pounding as I read her email on the bus, my mind was already overflowing with questions. I had so many. What was a ride like? How many scenes were there? How did you come up with it? What became of Dreamieland once the ride closed? I was honestly prepared for a little breakdown via bullet point, maybe for Miranda to just give me the bare minimum information and send me on my way. I could not have expected that instead I would be able to watch a full highlights video of the entire Dreamieland experience, and I am so absolutely thrilled now to take you on a little trip back in time to the Trafford Centre of the early aughts and welcome you to Dreamieland. The Dreamieland attraction used to be housed next to UCI Cinemas, now the Odeon, and consisted of a loading bay, the ride itself, a birthday party area, and a gift shop. According to an article from just before opening, the whole thing covered 22,000 square feet of space. In this video we get a little, we get a look at the Trafford Centre itself. Here we go, we're going through it, and as we sort of get into the main area, you can just about see this wonderful Dreamieland display here in the arches above the space where you find the staircase that you go up to find the place. And you can also see that the Dreamies here are moving a little. I'll try and show them. They're sort of gently bobbing up and down and waving. I really love the little glowing cloud. I believe this you can just see on the postcard image, so it's nice to see it in action. Now, let's go upstairs. Where we'll be introduced to the Dreamies. These little guys who, according to the law, conjure happy thoughts and make good dreams, but who are being constantly thwarted by the mischievous dream guzzlers, who are all about nightmares, I guess. This video clip that I've got here for you feels like an intro to the whole idea of the Dreamies versus the Guzzlers, so I imagine it might even have played on screens in the entrance or perhaps like around the attraction so you know what you're getting into. You can also see a group of 4 specific Dreamies and Guzzlers in this image, and their names were Pinkerpop, Flufferduffle, Ratto, and Jabberlot. Pinkerpop and Flufferduffle seem to be the faces of the Dreamies, like the Dreamy reps, the main guys, and Ratto and Jabberlot were like the primary henchmen of Queen Gazella. Now that we've been introduced, let's get into the attraction. And in the spirit of Defunctland and rebuilding a lost theme park, I've put together a paper model. It probably won't reflect the actual floor plan of the attraction, but I thought it'd be fun if we took our little cart around the rooms. So, as it stands, at least according to the video, we'll now move past the entrance and begin with the loading bay. The loading bay. We can see it features that colourful, bubbly look that's all throughout the attraction as we saw in the entrance, and it continues on from that exterior facade. Ride creator Miranda Rijks worked closely with artist and ride designer Mark Seddon to create the whole Dreamieland design. Bubbles and whirling things really create that sort of sense of childlike wonder, a little bit Wonka's Chocolate Factory-esque. Groups are loaded onto 4-person carts with these little laser guns. They're called Guzzler Torches, and the idea is that the riders will zap the baddies, the Dream Guzzlers, and therefore save the Dreamies, the good guys, from having their good dreams be taken over by nightmares. The ride itself, as I've said, was an interactive dark ride on a classic rails track like your standard Disneyland fare, and its animatronic figures made use of novel actuator muscles developed by Festo and KD Decoratives as helmed by Matthew Kitchen-Dunn. Paradise Island. The first room or scene that we get is Paradise Island, a jungly, foresty room where dream guzzlers are chopping down trees and ripping up plants and generally acting like naughty, un-environmentally friendly little guys. There's a real water feature here, a fun little actual waterfall, which is a great fun little detail, and we get a look at some of the Dreamies who look mostly nonplussed about being tied up. The reality of the situation, I imagine, has not quite set in yet for them. Arabian Town. This next room, very much Arabian Nights vibes. This animatronic snake is generally just a creepy little guy. I would not like to hang out with him. And we get more nonplussed Dreamies, this time crammed into baskets and rolled up in carpets. Their placid, smiling faces really wouldn't make me have that, like, it wouldn't make me that urgent to save them, but then again, maybe there's something behind those eyes, you know, like, help me. The Dream Ship. The Dream Ship, which is hard to get a good look at here, but was in fact shaped like a swan. Very beautiful. Apparently it was 24 feet long. I'm honestly delighted by the Dream Guzzlers in this scene, as they get different costumes per room, so they're always more dressed up than the Dreamies, and if I'm honest, they're really funny. Look at this guy making this little sad Dreamy dude walk the plank. That's hilarious! I'm sorry for being Team Guzzlers, but I think I am. Candy Canyon. Candy Canyon, a sweets themed room. I do just generally love the vibe. Very Katy Perry, California Girls era, although this did come before, so like, I mean, Katy Perry was more like in her Dreamieland Candy Canyon era. Anyway, I just love this specific little yellow guy. He doesn't seem to be a dreamy or a dream guzzler, so maybe he's just like a candy guy, like he could be like a little licorice guy. Anyway, I just love him. Love this room, love the vibe. Outer space. Now we're jetted off into space. And I feel this of the scenes is the one that I do have the most sort of memory of. I feel like I remember these clouds, I think. And of course, this is the room that my friend's photo op was in. You can see the clouds in his picture as well. Anyway, once again, honestly, I'm just so Team Guzzler. The absolute mischief on this guy's face, as we see he's lassoed one of the Dreamies, is so funny. According to the lore, the Dreamies' vehicles are called Dream Hoppers, but I'm not sure if the Dream Guzzler's flying machines have their own official name. Also, this spinning, glittery planet is just glorious. The celestial vibes, you know, I love it. I love it. Spooky forest. A spooky forest here giving Snow White spooky adventures. In keeping with the Guzzlers getting epic costumes, we have this little vampire Guzzler. When I saw this more Halloween-y scene, I was truly delighted, although I imagine my 6-year-old self probably thought this room was terrifying and blocked it out. Present, adult me thoroughly enjoys these goofy tongue trees especially. That said, apparently it was the other way around for families that sort of visited at the time, and it seemed that kids found this stuff hilarious while the parents were like, scary. So that's classic. The dungeon. Maintaining the spooky vibe, we enter an ancient castle and its dungeon. I love the spooky little pumpkin and this terrifying disembodied arm. We love to see it. Dreamies have started to look a bit more troubled by their predicament in the past few scenes too, which continues with this little scared guy. And then the best room is the Queen's ballroom. Queen Gazella's ballroom. She's very much giving Jabba the Hutt in drag, and I'm obsessed with this little like Casper the Ghost grub baby thing that she's holding in just one hand, all casual. The vibes in this scene really remind me of that scene in the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie, which I've always really liked for its sort of like fake haunted castle vibe. So of course this really tickles that same interest, you know. Right, so it's not very clear in this video, but what would happen during this last scene of Guzzlers and versus Dreamies, and I suppose versus you, is that we'd get a burst of warm light, signifying that you, the riders, had conquered evil, and that the baddies have been transformed into goodies via the power of zapping. Gazella has been drained of her evilness, and she's nice now. Meeting Nimbus, the Dreamkeeper. At this point, the ride comes to an end and you meet this guy, Nimbus the Dreamkeeper, who I guess is like the antithesis to Queen Gazella. He's like the leader of the Dreamies. He thanks you for saving Dreamieland. It looks like he's just an animatronic figure here at the ride ending. You only see his face here, but he could also be a meet and greet mascot suit that presumably would hang out around the Dreamieland entrance. Former employee, Dave, got in touch with me to share some memories about Dreamieland, and he told me that he played Nimbus on occasion. He said he met pop group Girls Aloud as Nimbus, so I wonder if Miss Cheryl Tweedy ever thinks about Dreamieland, you know, she like just remembers it sometimes, like, whoa, Nimbus. I believe at the ride ending there were leaderboards, you know, like your scores would be totaled up. If you have good aim and stuff, you could probably check your score and compare to your fellow riders, or maybe they were like team scores. And then of course, you know, there were the photo ops, and that sort of concludes the ride itself. The gift shop. The gift shop is the natural thing to put at the exit, we all know it, and it contains sort of your standard bits and bobs of, you know, tat and sweets, along with the more specific Dreamieland themed merch. Looks like there were plushies, t-shirts, notebooks, cards, cushions, magnets. I did find, while I was googling, an expired eBay listing for a pink Dreamy plushie, I assume Pink-a-Pop, in my research, and I was genuinely kind of sad that I'd missed out on it, because, like, not gonna lie, seeing them in the video really makes me want one. I'd love to welcome a little flufferduffle into my plushie collection here, or even the t-shirt. I wish I was wearing one right now. Really rep the brand and all that. Anyway, if you have any old Dreamieland merch hanging around, I am so envious, and I hope you know how lucky you are. Yeah. The birthday room. Now, we'll move into the birthday room. On my one and only visit, it was a birthday party. So I did go in here, although I imagine if you came to ride the ride one day, just sort of randomly, you wouldn't come into this bit. It's very much your standard Y2K birthday room. If you ever had a Smarties birthday at the leisure centre, talk about Y2K Brickcore, it's definitely that vibe. But in here was one of my own first encounters with a moving, singing animatronic figure. This is Digby the dog, who was the other part of Dreamieland that managed to stay imprinted in my memory. I remember that we sang along with him to the classic Happy Birthday song, I think, in honour of my classmate, and I remember being pretty jealous that the birthday celebrant got to sit in that cool chair. Anyway, when I look at Digby now, I still love him. I probably love him more than my child self did. I think he's wonderfully charming with his goofy eyebrows and rainbow guitar and his cute little cotton candy pink fur. I think he'd make a wonderful plushie himself, to be honest, and I know in my heart that he, definitely no longer exists, but I like to think he's somewhere just playing his guitar and having a nice time. I love him, Digby the dog, I love you. The song. Now, although I've played for you some of the video, I haven't actually played you the song yet. In the interest of time, I'm just going to play an excerpt.
Run with us, come with us, everyone. Dreamieland is that place where the fun's just begun.
But essentially, the song's verses sort of describe a basic rundown of the characters, their motives, and your instructions as a rider. The evil Gazella will steal all your dreams, so zap her on all the guzzlers and turn their darkness into light. Some of the lyrics in the verses do seem to correspond to things happening in specific rooms or scenes in the ride, like this one about the candies.
Candy striped boulders, they lay all around. Jelly bean trees sprouting up from the ground.
Anyway, this song has been in my head a lot as I've been working on this video. I hope maybe it unlocked some memories for some of you. In any case, you'll all have it in your heads now. Now, I put out a little bit of a call, just to see if there was anyone else out there who remembered anything about Dreamieland. My reach apparently was not very far. I managed to get just a few little testimonials from some friends and followers online, mostly from people who were like, "Oh, memory unlocked." Oh my god, you just unlocked such a deep memory. My parents told me I used to be terrified on going in tunnels when I was very small, but for some reason on this ride I didn't even say anything. I just stared at all of the scenery and wanted to go around again when it finished. But we couldn't because my brother, who must have been 2 at the oldest, was terrified the whole time and refused. My sister had a birthday party at Dreamieland when she was very young. We had a foster brother who was mates with a kid who ended up playing a lead role in a major film, and he came too. When we got home, we'd been broken into, and my brother's Dreamcast was gone, so I couldn't play Jet Set Radio anymore. This concludes my memories of Dreamieland. This person, I'm sorry for laughing, absolutely wild. Very sorry that their Dreamcast was stolen. Oh yeah, Dreamieland was sick. I went for a school friend's party, so it must have been at least open until 2004 because that's when I started reception. Yeah, I remember it being super cool, but no concrete details because I was a small boy. It existed in the weird space of this could be anywhere because it was only found by car and also not in the normal Trafford Centre. I had a branded pencil somewhere. It was sparkly and probably gone now. I literally had this conversation with my mum the other day, but couldn't remember what it was called. It was like a theme park, so when you exited the ride, you entered a gift shop. Apparently, when I was about 3, I was being pushed in a pushchair and accidentally picked up a stationery pack and stole it without my mum realising. Absolutely remember Dreamieland very fondly, like a lucid dream we all experienced right next to Laser Quest. If I remember, you had to save the Dreamies from the Guzzlers, and the evil Guzzlers looked like messed up genies, kind of. I mostly remember pink-orange backdrops and the front of the ride, clouds protruding into the Trafford Centre quite a lot. Glad it's not just me that remembers it though. I also found some internet hopefuls looking for answers who also shared their memories. When I was fairly young, I took a trip to England and visited the Trafford Centre, which is this giant mall. Much like the Mall of America, it had a small amusement park ride called Dreamieland. It was a dark room ride where you use laser guns to shoot at the evil nightmares to save the good dreams creature, I can't remember their names. It's a similar ride to Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters. I remember being obsessed with the ride and the designs of the characters in the ride all throughout my trip. I must have ridden it half a dozen times while I was there. I even remember there being a little website that showed off the characters, and you could even print out little character postcards. Nowadays, the only trace of it I can find is the picture attached to this post. If anyone can find some more pictures of the ride, a video of it, or even the old website, I'll be very grateful. To these people, I sure hope you're seeing this video. But I was also lucky enough, as I said, to be emailed by former employee Dave Dean, who mentioned earlier that he sometimes played Nimbus the Dreamkeeper, and I asked him what a typical day in Dreamieland looked for him, so here it is. I had a few different roles, starting off part-time and then becoming full-time later on. I worked in the shop, on the ticket kiosk, on the ride, in the Christmas grotto, on the birthday parties, the summer kids club, as Nimbus the Dreamkeeper character, and then became a duty manager and marketing assistant. We also had a shop in Peel Avenue for a while, upstairs by the jumping fountain. I think it's part of M&S now, so I was in there sometimes too. Because I did so many things, the days didn't really follow a particular pattern. If it was working on the parties, we'd be getting everything ready in the kitchen, running the parties in the main play area part of the Dreamy Partyland bit upstairs, then moving the kids through to the meal room or taking them downstairs onto the ride. If we were in the shop, we'd maybe be behind the counter, tidying up, restocking, etc. We also had a customer service desk in the shop for a while, so sometimes we'd be on that counter, and I was often there writing the newsletters for the membership club mailing list we had. Lots of good memories there. Girls Aloud came to visit once. I suspect I hugged them all while playing Nimbus. We took part in the ITV2 reality show Love to Shop, which was fun, particularly when we were doing the events on the main stage in the Orient. I think we maybe did 3 of them in the time we were open. We also had the Weakest Link come and audition us for their Christmas show. Michael got picked to appear. The music was great too, really gets stuck in your head, along with Digby the dog singing, which was just outside the shop at Christmas time because the Partyland was being used as Santa's grotto. Dave. The website. Excuse me for looking less put together. I'm filming this part where I look at the website in October and I've done everything else in August, so it's a different look. My hair's purple. Worry not. Let's look at the Dreamieland website. On the Wayback Machine, I've got an archive version here from, I believe, October 2003. I have taken a brief look at this, and I thought I would record it because there's a lot of really good stuff, and I just want to get into it. So we've got the front page, and as we can see, some of it hasn't been preserved, but we do have Flufferduffle and Pinkerpop there on the landing, and then when we start clicking on these side boxes, we get a little bit of, well, we've got Partyland, so that is something that I attended. We've got Digby there on the side, and it sort of explains the breakdown here. Have an amazing party, play games, eat and drink in the guzzling chamber, that's a good name for the food room, and also take away fantastic Dreamieland prizes and goodie bags. That makes me think that perhaps I also did receive some sort of Dreamieland merch when I went, and I didn't manage to hold on to it. I wish I did. Otherwise, ride around. There's a fun and games page on the website, but unfortunately, even though I do have Ruffle installed, it's how you view Flash things in 2023, wasn't working. I guess the file is not there. So no fun and games. I imagine it probably would have been a little bit of a game you could play in browser. The next section, I believe, was the shop, but this really struggled to load. A lot of broken buttons there. Stationery. I did try and go into it, but I don't think it led us there. We can also see the shop later on. I think there's a record from 2008. And that does have the merch shop. So the best way to look at the merch is via the 2008 archive version of the Dreamieland site, now called nightnight.co.uk. It's sort of a post-Dreamieland ride closure version of the site with more of a focus on these personalised bedtime stories. It's a sort of thing, you've probably seen them all the time, where you sort of input your own child's information, their name, their favourite food or their hobbies, and then it will sort of generate a story with that information plugged inside. So there's the little form here you can see, and then it had the download button. I think I did try this, but I wasn't able to generate a story. We'll take a little look at the merchandise available on the list here. The story subscriptions, obviously that's the stuff you put in the form, and then it generates the story. Takes you right back to that page. We've got the stuffed toys. So we've seen these in the video of the sort of whole experience. The plushies here, the Flufferduffle, the Pinker-Pop. Saw those. I think we saw the pop-up puppets as well. Stationery again, we saw these in the video, but when I saw them on the shelves, I thought they might have been greetings cards. Turns out they've been notebooks. Bedroom bits section, that's blankets. I think it might also have been cushions. There they are. You get your Dreamies, you get your Guzzlers. We've also got the clothing section. It's mostly pajamas, dressing gowns, and there are some t-shirts there. Child sizes, of course. For pocket money section is the little cheaper things, bookmarks, fridge magnets, a key ring. Honestly, I'd like all of those now. I've got a huge fridge magnet collection. I should have one of these on there. The collectible section, mugs, sort of standing figurines of the characters. Pretty cool. I like the design of this mug in particular. And that's it for the merch section. There is also, again, the fun and games section. I think we tried on the 2003 website. Nothing was really working there. But we do have this page here about Dreamieland, and it does say, Dreamieland was a fun ride that existed on Earth for a short time near Manchester, but it's back in the sky now. So it looks like for a little while they were still selling the merchandise and doing these stories, sort of extending Dreamieland's life for a bit longer. And of course the contact page, which is actually where I found the email that I sent the contact to, that started this whole thing. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Right, now let's go back to the 2003 website. Then it looks like there's... So the what's on section here, this is what I thought was really interesting. So it turns out that they held loads of events. Particularly here, Halloween is Gazella, Queen of the Guzzlers' favourite time of year. Mine too, Gazella. See, I am Team Gazella. So it looks like they had Halloween events going on, making costumes, scare yourself silly. The ride will have a spooky theme. After dark, it'll get more scary. I wonder what that was about. Children coming along in fancy dress will ride for free. You know I would have if. I mean, I suppose I could have. Flufferduffle's Fun Club. Halloween and fireworks theme. You do activities, arts and crafts. Now that appeals to me personally because now in my adult life I am something of a play facilitator, an arts and crafts workshop doer. What else is there? Freaky food and fun, party food and games, Halloween theme. Sounds great. I wish I was there. What else do we have now on the website? Let me just keep going here. That's pretty cool. So they had themed events, presumably sort of like seasonally. There's Halloween, I imagine there's Christmas, probably different things per half term, maybe like Easter things. That'd be good for the sweeties room because of all the chocolate at Easter. Right, and then the next page is the club. The club, and it came with a membership pack. A membership costs you £5 only. You get a membership, details on the Dreamies, the Guzzies, you get a badge and a pencil. I'd love a badge. Quarterly newsletters with all the news from Dreamieland, Digby's Joke Corner, members competitions, scoring updates, and your own membership card. I want that. I want that now. I want to be like, hi, Loren, Dreamieland Club member. Mega. Let's see. We also have a section on, I suppose, the fun club. Here we go. Yeah, I see half-term activities. A lot of this is what I do sort of now as an adult, making activities. Arts and crafts, yeah. Fabulous, fabulous. Play Halloween games, go on the ride. And they've got a toddler group. Bring in toddlers. We do a lot of that at the art gallery, have a little toddler group. They've got promotions. They've got a coupon there you could download and print. That's fabulous. Man. Yeah, so there's a lot to see on the website. They've got a recruitment section here as well, which it was October, so they were thinking ahead for Christmas to be like, all right, let's get a Santa in. Anyone with the following qualities: looking good in a big red suit and saying ho ho ho. That's fab. Otherwise, let's see, they've got the location, they've got how to get there, contact page, press release page, doesn't have anything on it. I think this is sort of the last page we can get to. Oh, Santa's Grotto right now. I do know that the Santa's Grotto did sort of take the place of one of the rooms. I think it might have been the party room. So the party room would sort of be replaced by Santa's Grotto at the time, but I think Digby would still be there. And links, yeah, it shows. Right, so actually this does answer a question for me. The Laser Quest definitely was open, sort of alongside Dreamieland. Right, yeah, that's the website. It's great that we've got the Internet Archive so we can see this sort of thing. Even though it's not perfect, it does show us like a good little throwback there. It's really nice. That's the website. Fabulous. Dreamieland closed after a few years, allegedly due to low visitor numbers. And unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, it was completely dismantled and nothing physically remains of the ride, which is a real shame. After the ride closed, an indoor mini-golf called Paradise Island Adventure Golf took its place. And hey, remember there was a Paradise Island scene in Dreamieland. I believe it's still there today in that same spot next to the Laser Quest. And I feel like I do remember the first time that I went to the Laser Quest, again, coming to the Trafford Centre for a primary school classmate's birthday party, that I was like looking around for Dreamieland and like low-key wishing we were going there instead. But that's everything I have. I'll put a link to the full uninterrupted video in the description of this video, and I hope you've enjoyed this little trip back in time to the UK's and Europe's first shopping centre-based indoor dark ride. The rest goes over to you. If you yourself have Dreamieland memories to share, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. Or you could send me an email or DM me on Instagram. If you've got images or stories to share, let me know. I'd love to hear them. And now we reach the end with so much thanks to former Dreamieland team member Dave, and of course Dreamieland creator Miranda Rijks herself, who so kindly shared with me this look into the past. She's a psychological thriller writer now, so please check out her novels if you're a fan of the genre. That's it for this one. Though Dreamieland be gone, it, as the song suggests, was a place where the fun's just begun. And we get to enjoy that fun even now. Thank you very, very much for watching this video, and you will see me again if there is another one. Goodbye.